recognizing, yes, we're getting things that I didn't get from last time, which are showing. Okay, cool. Ooh. I'm going to go into my Facebook and see. We should be live. There we are.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. So, all right. Now that we're live into Facebook, you know, I'm gonna just say hi, everybody. Oh, sorry, there goes an alarm of mine. Okay, hey everybody, it's Reba from Team Reba, Remax Metro East Side, and Open House with Team Reba. And you might recognize the guy to my side over here, which is Eric Aasness from.
Good afternoon, everyone.
So while we're doing this fun little live Facebook feed, we're here to answer as many questions as possible for anyone that may have anything that they need to ask about that we can speak to, of course, about the real estate and mortgage markets and kind of what's happening. We are doing this twice a week right now as we're dealing with coronavirus and all of that, because we know people have questions and need answers. So it's going to be, I think, important for you to get the information and answers to the questions that you have. So with that, you can either comment as part of this live feed. Certainly we'll take your likes and hearts and all that kind of good stuff. But, and do know that there's a slight delay between what Eric and I are doing. So if it takes a second for us to see your question and respond to it, just, you know, give us a little bit of time and we'll get you taken care of. Okay. So Eric, do you want to start? Well, or do you want me to start? Because I can talk about what they just recently released for real estate agents.
Yeah, let's start with that. Absolutely.
Okay. All right. So last week I had gone on Facebook and let people know that real estate agents had not been deemed essential to, you know, what was going on. And of course, you know, I'm sure that hurt a lot of people's feelings. But, you know, obviously we needed to get some plans in place. What was frustrating at the time for many was that we had transactions that were underway. People started getting impacted with jobs, some people impacted by fear, but it didn't negate that there was 17,000 transactions already underway. And so there was a lot of questions about, well, can I still get an inspection? Can my appraiser still get in? Can I do my walkthrough that you have at the end of the contract period to make sure everything's still okay? Can I, you know, do my key transfer? Oh my gosh, can I even move? Right? So we had a lot of questions that came up. I'm a member of the Association of Realtors, as many people know. So the association was working hard on the industry's behalf and on our customers' behalf. I mean, this is really for you guys. And so we were deemed limited essential. Okay. And so what that means is that there are definitely limited ways in which we can interact in person. And I'll give you some examples of just today. So on late Sunday night, they said, yes, we got the limited essential status. They sent out notifications about what that means and protocols and, you know, kind of cleanliness standards and, you know, obviously staying 6 feet away and such. But here's a great example. I have a showing today at 3 o'clock with a family where there's 2 adults that are the parents, and then they've got their adult son. And for me to go show one property to the 3 parties, I have to take each of them in individually, right? So we have to still keep our space between us. I'll meet them there. You know, I can't go picking people up kind of thing. So I got to meet people there, and then I can take them in one at a time. And of course, I'm going to have hand sanitizer, sanitary wipes, you know, all that kind of stuff with me so that any of the surfaces that we're touching, I can wipe down when we're done, right? Or while we're there as we kind of pass through different rooms. So I've got to have some things with me. And then same thing, like when I go and access the lockbox, I need to wipe that down after I'm done utilizing it. So I've got to follow certain safety protocols as well as distance protocols. So what'll be funny is that I'll take each person individually. It means now my showings will take longer if there's multiple people, and that's fine. But I will take each of them in, and then we're all going to have to like stand out in the yard 6 feet apart from each other and discuss what, they want to do basically, or we can leave the site and do it on a call, or, whatever that's going to look like. But this property, at least what was smart with the listing agent and their seller, to make sure that they do get enough time for people to see this property, they did set up a, review in the future date, rather than just saying offers come in as they do, because right now there's, probably a lot of people who may be reluctant to go out, or they're still planning around that. And so, if you're a seller, you want to take this time to be really thoughtful about your actions and perhaps set up that 1 week review period so that then you still have the market dynamic of getting as many buyers in as possible, so that you get the best buyer, right? Because that's the other thing. And I know we'll get to that in a minute when Eric starts talking, but it is so important that as a listing agent, we make sure and really validate who those buyers are who are coming in. So for all of you who are watching this, let me give you some examples of what that looks like. If I'm the listing agent and we have several listings coming up this spring, I'm going to be asking, what type of job does your customer have? Are they in kind of one of those fields that might be susceptible to layoffs or long-term effect by what's going on in the economy right now? Because we have seen people in certain fields be very heavily affected. It doesn't mean that everyone's immune, no pun intended there, but we have to be realistic. When we're trying to take a property off market for the opportunity for a buyer to purchase, that seller has to feel really confident. And so the lender that you're working with, the type of financing, your down payments, what kind of job this person has, and making sure that they're going to have that still at the end of this timeline, that's super, super important. So, if any of you have been looking and considering, I mean, we have to go through this all the time because we're Zillow Premier agents with my team. And people will sometimes get all, panties in a bunch when we ask them information about their finance, but we're like, no, seriously, this is not just looky-loo land. This is all about, like, a seller has to be 100%. If you're going to, as a stranger during this time, be allowed in someone's home, especially if they're still living there, oh my gosh, you've got to be well qualified. This is not, you want to just look around for fun, get on Zillow all you want, all day long. I'll send you houses all day long if you just want to, be a voyeur and look at pictures online. But to actually enter somebody's home, you really, really need to be serious. Because we've had that happening. I'm on several different real estate forums, both locally and throughout the United States. And there's, Canadians also involved in that. I mean, half the Canadian gross domestic product is based on real estate. And so you've got to be really, really serious if you're going to be asking people to, one, put themselves at risk to take you out, be going into properties where you don't know, what the situation is, the cleanliness factor, everything else. So you got to be really, really cautious and be careful and be serious, right? There's nothing wrong. I mean, it's no different than, if you're somebody, I always joke that real estate is like online dating, and there's those people who just want to go out for the quick bang. And then there's the people who really look for the long-term relationship. And right now, real estate is a long-term relationship, baby. So let's just get that out there. Okay. I think a lot of people can recognize what that really means, right? So I love that Eric is just cracking up right now. We talk about this on the radio show all the time. Like, I'm really good at picking houses. I might suck at the dating side, but I'm really good at houses. And I'm really good at qualifying buyers and sellers. So, so from that standpoint, now let me get you some other information though, just real quickly, okay? Because some of the things that are important on my side of it is what's going on with the volume of sales, right? So a lot of people have been asking me that. I was actually just having a conversation with my CPA the other day, and he was asking me these exact questions. So to kind of give a little insight to some of you folks out there, I want you to see real quick. Okay, I'm going to share my screen on the Zoom call that I'm doing with Eric. And what you're going to see is this market watch information. Eric, you could see that, right?
Yep.
Okay, great. So hopefully all of our listeners and watchers can too. So what I'm always looking for is this delta going on between brand new listings and pending sales and how many solds are actually happening. So in this scenario, we've got in the last week, 1,421 new listings. There's 390 back on market, with 404 have reduced their prices. Now, that doesn't mean we're in a depreciating market right now. I want to make sure it's really, really clear to everyone watching this that that does not mean we're in a free fall on housing prices, because there's some dumb people out there saying that that's what's going to happen. And I want to make sure that you understand that no, we still have demand. You can see that in the number of pendings. Most of these price reduced was just because somebody missed the mark on their pricing the first time around. It's not because housing values are suddenly declining, right? But when you see a blip like what we're having right now, because of what's happening in this event market, you're going to notice things like that, because price adjustments, anyone who's being smart about it is going to really go quickly and see what is the feedback on their property in that period of time, and hopefully make a quick adjustment versus, just hanging on, hoping it's going to stay there. Now, in some cases, it's worth it to do that, but you have to have a very thoughtful conversation with the professionals you're working with in doing that. And as you can see, we don't have, you can see some places are even increasing in pricing. There's not a whole lot of expireds. And I will also want to point out, this is for a multi-county. It's like 35 or 37 counties in the state of Washington that cover this entire thing. So you break that down by per market average, it's not a whole lot. We still have now the 2211 on the pendings. That's down a little bit, but that's not surprising because we just had a week where we couldn't even show property. And no one is going to want to put an offer on a house that they weren't sure if they could have inspected. So this is, something we were anticipating right now, and we're going to keep an eye on this. I expect by next week that number will be changed. Prior to this week, this number was hitting anywhere from 2,700 to 3,500 per week. So it changes all the time. But the number of solds, that actually hasn't dropped that much. Normally, we've been seeing around anywhere from 15 to 1,900 closings every week. So this is, not far off. And that's because those are all the ones that are still in process. And thankfully, we're able to continue on and getting those done. Now, here's some other things that have also changed in real estate, that the signing process has been modified very quickly, thankfully, to allow for electronic notary. Whereas before, you either went into the escrow office to sign your documents, or they sent out a mobile notary for you to validate, who you are, and then get the paperwork signed because they wanted wet signatures. Well, in today's environment, that's not, working out so good. So, and this is something going across the entire United States. Not every state, by the way, has access to electronic notary, and they're still trying to work that out on a national level. But here locally in Washington State, numerous title and escrow companies that we work with all the time are sending out their notices of, hey, here's what we have to offer. So what I would suggest for you, though, if you are looking right now, make sure that your closing time frame has a little bit extra buffer, because we need it on the lending side, the inspection time, even just going out and looking, we need a little more time because of like what I described earlier. So normally, like, we've been closing around at like a 30-day average, maybe plan on like a 40-day average right now. And I'll let Eric speak to that a little bit more and take over. Eric, would you suggest the same thing about closing timelines?
Absolutely. We have things that are causing delays that are unanticipated at this point. Part of it is due to a lot of volume. Appraisals can take longer than expected depending on the areas. Although even with appraisals now, we have options where a person you don't have to go inside the home. We can do exterior appraisals, things like that. But absolutely, we have things that are causing delays that are unanticipated at this point. I got a little bit of a feedback there. Due to a lot of volume, appraisals can take longer than expected depending on the areas, although even with appraisals now we have options where. So what's happening also is we have to do a final verification of employment. Absolutely. At the end of a transaction. That verification of employment sometimes in some cases is causing some delays. So it's important that we have an accurate phone number where we can do a verbal verification at the time of closing. Within 48 hours of closing, we have to do that verification. And just planning a little extra day here or there can be super, super important just to allow time for these additional services and things that we have to perform at this time. Okay, and then I'm going to just give it looks like Reba is sort of muted there. I'm going to give a quick update also on what's going on in the morning.
Yeah, sorry. I had muted myself for a minute while you were doing all that because I had some background noise going on. Sorry about that. So you got the process piece covered on what needs to be done for your side. What's going on with rates right now? Because I know a ton of people are asking about that.
Right. It's extreme volatility. I call it violent. At this point, there's a couple things happening with interest rates right now. First, the summary for a conventional conforming type loan, they're very good. 30-year fixed rates, conventionals are hovering right around 3.5% without any points. If you pay a point, they're down around 3.125 to 3%. So those are looking good. FHA rates are right around 3.25. And VA rates about the same, about 3.25. Unless you're refinancing, the FHA VA rates are significantly higher for refinancing right now. Jumbo rates, not so lucky. A 30-year fixed rate jumbo rate right now is hovering with 0 points around 4.625, percent higher than a conventional loan. And with a point, they're around 4.25. Okay. So what's happening on the jumbo side is that many jumbo lenders are exiting the market. Some lenders are completely out. I checked one today that's been routinely aggressive with rates. They're up to 6.625 with like 3 points. They're just out. Although there are some that are still fairly aggressive. And it's really all over the board when you're jumbo, when you're borrowing more than $740,000 right now. So what's happening is
quick question. Are you expecting that that's going to really dampen down? Because that really is going to impact like markets like Bellevue, Kirkland, and North Seattle.
Yeah, it should settle down a little bit. But here's what's happening. The mortgage markets are kind of getting a double whammy here. They're getting hit from a couple different sides. Mortgage lenders are. The first one is sort of the unintended consequences of the Federal Reserve. Just last week alone, the Federal Reserve intervened in the markets. They bought $183 billion in mortgages to calm the markets down. And that did kind of help get the rates back down. We got as high as the mid 5% range, a week and a half ago with mortgage rates. So the Fed got that calmed down to about 3.5%. The unintended consequence of that is that you can see when the Fed's in the market and when they're out of the market, it's causing a tremendous amount of volatility. That matters because when a lender locks an interest rate, they have to hedge for that risk. They actually buy a interest rate hedge because they're promising to deliver a client an interest rate at some point in the future, 30 days, 45 days. We have no idea where rates will be at that time. So we have to hedge for that risk. Well, when the Fed's in and out of the market and there's massive volatility, the values of those hedges can really swing all over the place as well. And it's forcing margin calls on lenders. If the value of that hedge plunges too much, the lender's forced with a margin call. They have to make that financial instrument good. They're having to fork over tens of millions of dollars to cover those hedges. So that's impacting us. The other thing that's impacting us is servicing. When a loan is made, the servicing rights of that loan can be sold. And they're typically sold for about 1%. So a servicer will actually acquire the servicing. They pay a 1% fee. They get paid a strip, or roughly about a third of that every year. So it takes about 3 years to break even. If rates fall dramatically, lots of people refinance and those loans get repaid before that 3-year period. That servicer loses money. On
Okay.
top of that, servicers will often finance the purchase of servicing, so they're leveraging that, and so they're
Okay.
borrowing that money. Yeah, go
Can I
ahead.
stop you for a second though? Because servicing is a phrase you know,
Okay,
but
sure,
the
sure.
general public does not. Could you
Okay,
explain what
yeah.
servicing truly means and why
It,
that
it-
matters?
of course, it's an industry behind the industry. It's who you make your payments to.
Mhm.
And a lender's ability to sell or transfer servicing actually allows them to offer a lower interest rate to you as a consumer. And so, which all works well and fine. And you may not even know your servicing is sold. Sometimes there's, kind of
Yeah.
ways that it's masked or shadowed or whatever. But what's happening right now with the servicing is because of this rapid repayment of loans due to the low interest rates and also Fed intervention, the value of servicing is fallen to half or sometimes some cases even zero.
Okay.
Additionally, when this government bailout program came out and the forbearance of loans was offered, that's all well and great. That's going to cause tremendous comfort to a lot of people, except the servicer. The servicer has to make their payments to the investor, whether or not they collect a payment from the customer.
Oh,
Which means
interesting.
that in that
Okay.
case, if millions of people forbear their loans, don't make their payments, the servicer is still obligated to make the payment to the ultimate investor, which means they're going to spend tens of billions of dollars in money that they don't have. It will cause servicers to go out of business. As a consequence to all of this, we just have a lot of volatility. So if you're on the fence about purchasing or refinancing, the timing is good now because we're stable today, and we're hoping that situation will continue. And behind the scenes, though, there's a lot of work going on to try and solve these problems, stabilize it. But one of the solutions to stabilizing it is maybe interest rates go a little bit higher. The
Okay.
Fed doesn't intervene quite so much. So that is a possibility looking down the road.
Okay. All right. So it will
Lots
be
of good news coming from me today.
Yeah, I'm smiling so much.
Well, 3.5%. I mean, if you take it while we
Okay,
can get it.
context for everybody. I mean, you and I talk about this on our radio program and podcast all the time. My first house was at 9%.
Mhm.
I've had them at 7%. You've had one at, was it 13 or 16?
13 and a half.
Yeah. So, higher rates are not unheard of. In fact, when we went into the housing crisis before, we were still in like the 5.5 to 7 range at that
Right.
time. Now, granted, because we happen to have the benefit of living in this wonderful place called the Pacific Northwest and the Puget Sound region, yes, our housing prices have gone up quite a bit because we have a well-diversified economy, which is frankly a little bit helpful right now. So we know there's a lot of people who are being impacted, but there's a lot of people who are not.
Mhm.
And we have a lot of very large blue chip companies here that are weathering this, and some of them even have their orders going up, so to speak. So, we're not anticipating a massive hit here. We know everybody's going to get hit to a degree. It is interesting to hear Eric talking about, what jumbo loans are doing. I'm sure, for those tech workers who've been using their stocks or RSUs, as some of them have it called, that there may be an impact for them and their ability to have the kind of down payments that they were looking at before. So we'll see. We're going to see some moving around in this marketplace. But the thing that I've really picked up on what Eric has had to say is if you're someone who's like a first time buyer, or you're below that jumbo loan arena, you're still in a great position right now.
That's right. 741, 750.
Yeah.
So if your loan amount's less than 741, 750, you're great. And
Yeah.
above that, we just have to be a little bit more careful in finding the right place.
Exactly. So I just wanted to make, here's the thing, everybody, the majority of houses, I mean, King County's average sale price is still well below that. It's, North Seattle, Central Seattle, some of the cities in the east side. I can tell you Renton, our average sale price is still, even as it was creeping into the 600s, still well below that, if that's what the purchase price is. Some
And
of the new
I'd really
construction is
recommend
8 and 9, but
too, if you're over that mark, check back frequently, because this situation is very, very fluid. It's changing every day,
yeah,
and there's lots of smart people working on this problem, so it could be solved,
hopefully
by tomorrow. Yeah, that's right.
hopefully all smart.
Yeah,
But
that's
you know what, that brings up another really good point though, Eric. There might be a lot of smart people working on this kind of stuff, but I just want to remind people, the frontline people like me and Eric, make sure you're working with a smart one of those, because there's a lot. I mean, I'm sorry, those are aggrandizement there, but there are a lot of people who don't understand the economics of this and who also are not paying attention. I have had numerous conversations with other real estate agents in the last couple of weeks, and the week that we hit the fives on some of those rates, that agent had no clue. He had no idea. He wasn't talking to his clients. He wasn't telling them to go check in with their lender. Everyone we talk to right now, even if they've told us they've been pre-approved already, we're like, we need to go back and do a gut check. Let's make sure that who you're working with is still offering that product. It's still at the rate level that you thought it was going to be. Because if that's 30 or 60 days old, ooh, you might have a small awakening that needs to happen. So all we can do is encourage everyone to make sure that you're paying attention. You are asking good questions. We're trying to help provide the types of things you need to be asking about. And if you need really good services, well, Eric and I are available, right? We're up, we're working, my team's working hard, and we're here for you. And that's the thing, we're here for you. We know that people still need to buy and sell homes. We know that they're transitioning with jobs and families and loved ones, and there's stuff still going on. Life continues on while we're under COVID-19. So
right.
we have to just make sure we're working with really solid people who know what's going on.
And can I just say something from a planning perspective? A lot of folks are just sort of kind of reeling right now, with all of this going on, and they're a bit frozen. Now is a great time to be prepared, get organized, get yourself pre-approved, and be ready, because I kind of have a feeling that once this all settles down, our market's going to be on fire. So better if you're prepared and ready to jump, when that happens.
Eric, I will agree with you wholeheartedly on that, because we only had about a 1 week time period where we were not allowed to show property. And the fact that I've got 2 scheduled today, and I'm working with another person tomorrow so that we can make sure she's prepared and get her out right away. We've got pent up demand. Yep. There's a lot of people who took a collective breath, but there's pent up demand. We already had pent up demand before this even happened. So it's still sitting there waiting to get out. So couldn't agree with you more. I don't always get to say that about you. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
I'm gonna go buy a lottery ticket. This is my lucky day.
I love it. So anyway, but we hope that this was useful and helpful, and please share it with anyone else that you think could find it useful. There's a lot of people concerned about the marketplace right now. And there's a lot of crappy information also even going out, and a lot of fear mongering. I was just telling Eric the other day, I was listening to a Rich Dad radio program that had Harry Dent Jr. on it. And if you want to hear some bull crap, oh my God, please don't listen to it, because it's just a bunch of bull crap. A technical term there.
I don't want to say anything bad about Harry Dent, but he's an idiot.
Yeah, well, it was frustrating to listen to what he had to say, because it's pretty inaccurate. So I think he makes all his money on his books, and he's about fear mongering in the books. I used to love his book ages ago of the Roaring 2000s. Can't say I appreciate him anymore. So anyway, that's just some of our 2 cents on everything. And if you need to get more than 2 cents to go buy a house, give us a call. We're always available, Reba@teamreba.com, or you can call me at 206-910-3429. I finally didn't try and give everyone your phone number.
Sure. Eric at ericismybanker.com, and it's 206-915-3742, 915 Eric.
Okay, fantastic. All right. Well, thanks everybody. We're going to get off of Facebook now, but we will be back on Friday at 1 p.m. doing another follow-up and letting people know kind of what's going on in the industry. Okay. If you have questions ahead of time, feel free to send them to me. We'll answer them on that show. Okay. Bye.
Thanks, Ariane.